Our next glacial feature is called a till plain. And as the name implies, plain, this could be a very flat area. Another key feature of a till plain is it's always going to be behind or north of, in the case of Indiana, the end moraine. So it's always going to be formed behind the end moraine, just like recessional moraines. What it is once again an unsorted mix of silt, clay, sand, and gravel. What do I mean by unsorted? Once again, unsorted means it's just everything. It's just mixture of everything. Sorted, we see those with rivers. Rivers do a good job of sorting sediment. We have the bigger stuff at the bottom, and then the lighter stuff or the smaller stuff at the top. That makes sense when we think about rivers. In the case of glaciers, they don't care. There's no sorting done at all. There's no layering. It's just essentially everything's just dropped wherever that ice melts. So that's very important to consider and keep in mind. So when again, with the presence of till, this is a clear indicator that this was deposited or left behind by a glacier. So anytime you see the terms till or till plain, that's essentially from glaciers that's been left behind that particular silt, clay, sand, gravel, whatever that sediment might be. So a key characteristic of a plain, till plain, obviously flat with lightly rolling hills. So essentially what happens is if there was river valleys, if there was ruggedness, if there was the topography we would see throughout southern Indiana and Kentucky, essentially, if a glacier, what it does is it brings in all that sediment and fills in all the gaps, fills in all the valleys. And so essentially, a glacier brings in all this sediment and helps to smooth the land. It helps to fill in a lot of the rugged topography. And we can see this in, the south central Indiana, Kentucky. Those are places never had glaciers. Well, that's what a lot of what northern Indiana looked like before glaciation. But what happened was, of course, the Continental Glacier pulverized and flattened much of the northern half of the state. So northern and central Indiana is where we see, and in particular, is one place called the Tipton Till Plain, which has some of the best soil in the country. So agricultural characteristics, they like good soil, but they also like flat land. It's good for drainage. So in Indiana, in Illinois, parts of Iowa, parts of the Midwest, we've got a lot of glaciation that's essentially flattened the land, but then also left behind a lot of nutrients, a lot of richness to the soil. Where do we find the till plain? Pretty much north of the end moraine, but we can say anywhere from about Terre Haute to Edinburgh to Richmond and places north. And here's a good map that shows the general location of this till plain around this particular area here. And you can see, for the most part, yeah, we have those recessional moraines, and yeah, we have a river coming through here, a good friend, the Wabash River, but for the most part, all this area is this consistent brown and rather flat, whereas in this particular area down here, it's quite rugged. This is one area, which I'll talk about here in a minute, that's never been hit, or never been impacted, I should say, by a glacier. Tipton, right there is the county called Tipton County. So this is the Tipton Till Plain. You can see this is the flattest place. If you can find anywhere in this map, where can I find the flattest area? It's pretty much right through here. No color change at all. Extremely flat. And I know this picture is blurry, but this is a picture from Tipton and the Tipton Till Plain. What might this be? This is a huge glacial boulder. And this huge glacial boulder, where did it come from? It came from Canada. It's a Canadan. So essentially what happened was a glacier, huge bulldozer, plucked and picked up this piece of granite from the Canadian Shield way up in Canada, and then just essentially dropped it in the middle of this field in northern Indiana. So you're going to find these all throughout northern Indiana in a lot of subdivisions. What happens is when they're building a house, they might come across these. These are called glacial erratics, and they might put them in, in the front yard, or to maybe keep people from cutting through a yard, to keep people from driving through. They might put these big boulders there, and oftentimes these are just essentially left over and just left behind by a glacier. And then as you're building your house, you come across them. Interesting feature here. If you notice, there's this kind of this feature here that looks a lot like the other side. So this is the end moraine. This looks a lot like a till plain. This looks like it's been flattened and has the same characteristics. Well, it is. And to think back, once again, we've had these different glaciers that have come through and impacted Indiana. The outer limits of older glaciers made it this far, whereas the most recent Wisconsin glacial boundary, which I showed with that black line here, so this essentially these other ones help to flatten this particular area out. And so this is just another area that's from the Illinoisan glacier, the Illinoisan till, from the previous glacier in which I've showed the boundaries of that one, the Illinoisan glacier here. But like I said, the most recent one would be the black line, the N moraine. But nonetheless, we can see both of these glaciers missed one particular area. That's this particular area that has unglaciated bedrock and karst topography. So as a reminder, this particular area, one of the things is it has karst topography. A characteristic of that is you have to have limestone close to the surface. Limestone is close to the surface. It's limestone. It's all throughout the whole state, but it's been essentially buried underneath all the sediment in the northern part of the state from the glacier. So this part that's been unglaciated, that limestone, if the glacier made it all the way down, essentially this limestone would be buried underneath all that sediment. You wouldn't be able to go caving down this particular area because you wouldn't be able to even access a cave or cavern and go spelunking. So this is a particular area, one of the reasons why it's so pitted and bumpy, as we zoom in here and look at Corydon, that bumpy surface, is because it never was impacted by a glacier, which would have filled in a lot of these little valleys and holes and so forth. And so here's a sinkhole from southern Indiana.